Hey everybody, Josh for Populi here, and you can make sweeping changes to your course catalog entries with the broom of comma-separated values. We're going to look at both changing existing course catalog entries and adding new ones. It's a very similar process for both. This tutorial will be most useful to academic admins and registrar users, and it's a little different because this process in the software is more off-road than a lot of other things. If you need to refresh on how course catalog entries and course instances work together, we have a few resources down in the description. Let's go to Academics, Course Catalog, and there you can make changes to groups of entries or add new entries. Those would be new courses to this table. If we click in and look at one, many of these fields, but not all, can be updated in one go for groups of entries. Back on the Academics Course Catalog table, you can see over here on the right that you have the ability to import a CSV. That's a spreadsheet format, and that acronym CSV stands for comma separated values. You'll also see that you can export the contents of this table with all of the course entry records as rows and the fields for each entry as columns. Just as a quick note, that export will contain many fields that are not actually listed here on this table. Let's get a quick overview of our example process for either adding or editing. Export a CSV from this table, make and save changes to the CSV in a spreadsheet application on your computer, import the CSV, review the column mapping, then review the individual records, then execute the import to Populi. Let's work through an example of making a change to existing entries. One of the fields is department. In our example, we have a humanities department and all these courses included in it. Things at our hypothetical institution have changed, so we want to divide the English and the history courses into separate departments. We're going to use the filter and choose department and then add a filter for humanities. Then apply that filter. Now we're showing only courses in the humanities department, and when we go over here and click export CSV, we'll only get those courses in the export. So whatever we limit here on this table is also limited in the export. We recommend exporting a CSV because you're going to have to upload a CSV. You'll save that file to your computer and then open it with whatever spreadsheet software you use, Excel or something like it. Then you'll make whatever changes you want to the spreadsheet. In this instance, we're going to change the ENG courses to the English department, and we'll change the HIS courses to the history department. Once you've made those changes and saved them in that spreadsheet, you'll go back to Populi, Academics, to the course catalog table, and choose to import CSV. You'll choose the correct file, the one you just edited. Once that file imports, you'll get a rundown of how things initially match up here. We start out looking at the column mapping. Remember that we're doing this using the CSV export from the software, so all of the column names are right out of Populi. We're seeing 3 columns unmapped, no duplicates, and the remaining columns successfully mapped. No duplicates means that we're not seeing any of these columns competing to import data to the same field on a catalog entry. Successful mapping means that each column has a place to go. No duplicates and the successful mapping makes sense. We downloaded these courses and fields from the same instance of Populi to which we're uploading it. So why do we have 3 columns that don't map if we pulled this out of the software? Those columns correspond to fields in Populi that work in more complex ways than we can currently accommodate with a spreadsheet. If we filter by unmapped columns, you'll see delivery method, course offerings, and prerequisite courses come up. As you can see in the software, there's a note that says any columns left as unknown will be ignored upon import, and that's true of these 3 columns listed here. Those are the complex columns that can't feed back into the software via a spreadsheet update. To understand a little about what I mean by complex, take course offerings. This refers to all of the terms in which a particular course catalog entry has a course instance, every time in every term that this course has been offered. If we updated this via a spreadsheet, it would require us to create that course instance in every term listed in the updated field. That's not how course instance creation works in Populi. That happens on a term by adding a course and filling out various details there. It's a complex action, so that column doesn't translate back into the software. The upshot of this is that these types of fields have to be managed for each course catalog entry manually. Let's view all columns and look at the table here. What we're seeing are Populi's guesses about which columns in the spreadsheet match with which fields in Populi. Again, we'd expect these to hook up properly since we exported them from the software. If you did need to change the mappings, you can do that with any of the drop-downs there. Columns look good. Let's move to the next step. We'll click on Review Records. Now we're seeing that all of these records are valid, but we also have warnings. In this instance, because we're overriding existing fields with data, we're going to get warnings. But you could end up with additional warnings beyond those, so it's a good idea to look things over. You can uncheck anything that you don't want to bring in, and you can use these toggles at the top to check or uncheck everything at once. Once you got things looking good here, you can click Import Records and you're done. If we look at the table again, we'll see that we've successfully changed the department for these courses. Okay, the process for importing new courses is similar. Depending on the source of data that you're using, you might end up doing things differently than we're going to show here. For instance, if you already have a spreadsheet of your course catalog data from another system, you might just work with that existing spreadsheet and then rely on the ability to change the column mapping during that step of the import. Or you can do what we'll demonstrate here. I'm going to use an exported CSV of what's in the system and wipe out the course number and name and paste in a new list here. This is just an example, so I'm playing fast and loose with the data in the additional columns over here to the right. In your situation, you'll probably need to work through those fields, set credits properly, change max enrolled, whatever the additional changes you need to make are. Another thing, some fields are relatively open-ended, like credits, which can accommodate the number of credits you input. But some, like department, require that the department that you add here already be existent in the software. And of course, spelling and accidental characters and that sort of thing will throw errors when you import. But once you have that table the way you want it, you'll save it. And then in Populi on Academics, Course Catalog, you'll import CSV and walk through those steps. And as you can see here, as we're reviewing records, my misspelling catches up with me. With any of these errors, it's probably best to just cancel the import. And then you have two options. You can go back and address it on the spreadsheet and then save and import again. Or if you do need to add the English department in the software, you can do that and then import the CSV again. Once we import those course catalog entries, we can see those new courses in the table, hot and fresh and ready to serve. One additional thing I wanted to mention right here at the end, the retakes field is a little bit quirky. When you're adding a catalog entry for the first time, you can input a retake policy and populate that field on your records. However, if you're importing to make changes to existing records, Populi ignores the retake field, the way that we do for course offerings or delivery methods. That's because retakes for all existing instances rely on what's set there on your catalog entry. So if you make that change for a course that already has finalized instances affecting student transcripts, there's a good chance that you'll end up changing student GPAs. We prevent wreaking major havoc on your student GPAs by not updating that field via CSV uploads. I think we do it because we like you, Remember to work through this process slowly and soberly. Maybe the kind of attitude you have when you're holding a newborn, supporting the head, especially if you're making changes to or adding dozens of courses at once. Measure twice, import once. I also want to mention that this can be a complicated process and you may run into other errors that might need more explanation. Feel free to reach out to support if you hit a roadblock. And you can check the description for related resources. Also, if you want to explore more training options, you should be aware of our focus sessions. These are 1 hour long training sessions that take place over Zoom. You and several other Populi users meet up with a Populi support rep. You get a little training and then you get to ask questions. We have a rotating sequence of topics, so if you miss a session on something like admissions or billing, don't worry, it'll be rolling back around. You can get to the focus sessions by going to the knowledge base, clicking on release notes and announcements, and then clicking into focus sessions. We've also popped a link directly to the focus sessions down in the description. I've been Josh for Populi. You've been great. Thanks for watching.